The cavernous council chamber of the interstellar diplomatic nexus stretched before Commander Jack Thompson like an architectural nightmare. Crystalline walls refracted light in impossible geometric patterns, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that would have mesmerized anyone less focused than the human representative standing alone at the central platform. Silence hung heavy, punctuated only by the subtle vibrations of alien breathing systems and the soft hum of translation matrices. Thompson knew every eye was upon him, not with respect, but with a predatory anticipation of humiliation. Ambassador Krulax of the Zorian Confederation uncoiled its prismatic body, tendrils of bioluminescent membrane rippling with barely contained contempt. Its voice emerged as a series of clicks and harmonic undertones that the translation matrix rendered with clinical precision. Humans, Krulax began, each syllable dripping with condescension, represent the most primitive form of sentient life ever granted diplomatic recognition in this chamber. Your technological achievements are nothing more than crude approximations of technologies we mastered millennia ago. The chamber erupted in a chorus of chirps, clicks, and resonant hums, the collective laughter of a dozen alien species. Thompson remained motionless, his dark uniform a stark contrast against the vibrant, almost living architecture surrounding him. A single bead of sweat traced a line down his temple, the only visible sign of the pressure mounting around him. To his left, the Nexus Collective's representative, a being composed of interlocking quantum crystalline structures, projected holographic data streams that highlighted humanity's most embarrassing technological failures. Images of early space missions flickered, primitive rockets, failed Mars colonies, early quantum computing attempts that had resulted in spectacular malfunctions. Your species, the Nexus representative intoned, its voice a mathematical precision of disdain, has consistently demonstrated an inability to comprehend even basic interstellar technological principles. Your quantum research is equivalent to children playing with complex mathematical equations they cannot possibly understand. Commander Thompson's fingers brushed against the small communication device hidden within the seam of his uniform. A silent message, already transmitted, awaited its moment of revelation. Zarael, the luminescent ambassador from the ethereal dominion, rose with a movement that defied traditional physics. Wave-like patterns of energy rippled across its semi-transparent form, creating an illusion of constant motion. Humanity's request for expanded diplomatic relations is nothing short of comedic, Zarael declared. Your species has not even achieved complete planetary unity. Your economic systems remain fractured, your environmental challenges persist, and your technological development is so inconsistent that it borders on the absurd. More laughter, more mockery. Each word was a calculated strike, designed to diminish, to reduce humanity to nothing more than a footnote in galactic history. Thompson understood the game being played. This was more than diplomatic posturing. This was a systematic attempt to prevent humanity from gaining any meaningful recognition in the interstellar community. What the assembled aliens did not know was that every insult, every dismissive statement was being recorded, not just by human diplomats, but by a network of quantum-encrypted systems that were analyzing each nuance, each diplomatic barb with scientific precision. Commander Thompson's eyes remained fixed on the distant wall, giving no indication of the storm brewing beneath the surface. To the alien representatives, he appeared defeated, another weak representative of a species not worth consideration. They were wrong. So terribly wrong. The chamber continued its performance, a theatrical display of superiority designed to crush the human spirit. Holographic displays continued to cycle through humanity's perceived failures. Environmental struggles, technological limitations, social conflicts. But beneath the surface, something was forming. A response that would reshape the very understanding of human potential. Commander Jack Thompson allowed the smallest hint of a smile to play at the corner of his mouth, just for a moment. Just enough to suggest that something extraordinary was coming. The galactic mockery would soon become a legendary miscalculation. Deep beneath the frozen surface of Europa, A network of caverns pulsed with a carefully concealed energy that would have redefined the meaning of technological innovation. Admiral Victoria Rice stood before a holographic display that seemed to breathe with potential, her reflection fractured across quantum resonance screens that mapped out humanity's most audacious project. The underground complex stretched for kilometers, a labyrinth of research chambers, fabrication halls, and quantum computing centers that existed beyond the comprehension of any external monitoring system. Here, humanity's most brilliant minds worked in absolute secrecy, driven by a singular vision that burned brighter than any star. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, lead quantum systems architect, adjusted a complex molecular interface that seemed to shimmer between solid and liquid states. The adaptive matrix is showing unprecedented stability, he muttered, more to himself than to anyone else in the cavernous research chamber. Nearby, Lieutenant Commander Elena Kim studied a holographic representation of their most revolutionary design, a spaceship that was less a machine and more a living system. Its blueprint defied every known principle of spacecraft engineering. Organic computational networks intertwined with quantum processors, creating a vessel that could theoretically adapt, heal, and evolve in real time. "We're not just building ships," Rodriguez explained to a group of senior researchers. "We're creating biological quantum hybrid systems that can fundamentally reimagine spaceflight." The project had begun quietly a decade earlier, born from a simple yet revolutionary premise. What if human technological innovation could be accelerated by removing all traditional constraints? Every failure, every diplomatic humiliation, every moment of galactic ridicule had been carefully processed, analyzed, and transformed into fuel for this momentous undertaking. Admiral Rice walked between holographic displays that showcased decades of research. Each projection represented a different breakthrough. Adaptive materials that could restructure themselves at the molecular level, quantum communication systems that defied traditional understanding of information transfer, weapon technologies that blurred the line between physics and imagination. A young engineer named David Chen approached with a data tablet, his hands slightly trembling. "The latest quantum entanglement tests are showing results that make no sense," he said, his voice a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "Our communication prototypes can now transmit data across theoretical infinite distances with zero latency." Rice studied the data, a slight smile playing at the corner of her mouth. Each breakthrough was another nail in the coffin of humanity's perceived technological inferiority. The research complex was more than a military project. It was a testament to human resilience, to the ability to transform constant underestimation into unprecedented innovation. Every researcher here had experienced moments of diplomatic or scientific dismissal. Every team member carried the collective memory of a species constantly told it was not good enough. In one section of the complex, biomechanical engineers worked on adaptive hull technologies that could respond to environmental challenges in milliseconds. Another team developed quantum navigation systems that could predict and adjust to spatial anomalies before they even manifested. "We're not just preparing a fleet," Rodriguez explained during a briefing. "We're developing a living, thinking ecosystem of technological capabilities that can respond to challenges we haven't even conceived yet." The power requirements for such technology were astronomical. A dedicated fusion research team had developed new containment and energy transfer technologies that made previous fusion attempts look like primitive campfires. They had effectively cracked the code of sustainable, near-infinite energy production. Lieutenant Commander Kim pulled up a simulation of their most advanced prototype, a vessel that could literally reshape its internal and external configurations based on mission requirements. Weapon systems that could transform, communication arrays that could reconfigure, defensive capabilities that made traditional shields look like paper-thin barriers. Admiral Rice watched the simulation, her mind calculating the geopolitical implications. This was more than a technological leap. This was a fundamental reimagining of humanity's place in the universe. "We're not building weapons," she often told her team. "We're building a declaration of human potential." The Europa complex represented humanity's greatest secret, a project so advanced, so revolutionary, that its very existence would reshape galactic understanding of technological innovation. Every alien civilization that had mocked humanity was about to receive a response that would echo through the stars. As the holographic displays continued their intricate dance of possibility, a quiet determination settled over the research complex. They were no longer just preparing a fleet. They were preparing a revolution. The first tremors of conflict began not with weapons, but with economic algorithms and carefully orchestrated trade restrictions. Admiral Victoria Rice studied the holographic projection in her private briefing room. Each line of data, a calculated move in a complex galactic chess match. The Zorian Confederation had initiated what appeared to be a standard trade blockade against human colony worlds. To any casual observer, it seemed like a typical display of interstellar posturing, a way to pressure humanity into diplomatic concessions. But Ray saw something deeper, a pattern that most would miss. They're not just blocking trade routes, she explained to her senior strategy team. They're creating a specific economic pressure pattern designed to isolate our outer colonies. Major David Chen pulled up a series of economic projections. Red lines indicated potential supply chain disruptions. Blue lines showed projected economic impacts. Each visualization told a story of carefully designed economic warfare. The Nexus Collective had begun assembling what they called a peacekeeping fleet, a transparent euphemism for an invasion force. Satellite intelligence showed massive ship assemblies near the contested border regions, each vessel bristling with technologies that had previously seemed insurmountable. But what the alien civilizations did not understand was that every move was being anticipated, analyzed, and already countered. In a secure communication center buried deep within the Europa Research Complex, communication specialists worked with quantum-encrypted systems that could predict diplomatic and military movements with unprecedented accuracy. They weren't just monitoring. They were orchestrating. Commander Jack Thompson sat in a strategy session, holographic displays surrounding him like a constellation of potential outcomes. "We're going to let them believe they have the advantage," he said, his voice calm and calculated. "Every restriction they place, every military movement they make, we'll use it to our advantage." The human response was multi-layered. While appearing diplomatically passive, a complex network of economic and technological countermeasures was being deployed. Small trading vessels began rerouting through previously unexplored quantum corridor networks. Colony worlds started implementing emergency self-sufficiency protocols that had been secretly developed over decades. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, head of strategic adaptation research, reviewed the latest simulations. "Our economic resilience is built on something they cannot comprehend," she explained to her team. "We're not just preparing to survive. We're preparing to transform their entire understanding of human capability." The ethereal Dominion's propaganda machines worked overtime, broadcasting messages that portrayed humanity as a weak, fractured species incapable of unified resistance. They highlighted human internal conflicts, economic challenges, and technological limitations. What they did not realize was that every broadcast was being meticulously analyzed, every propaganda message becoming another piece of intelligence. In the outer colony of New Santiago, colony administrators began implementing a series of emergency protocols that appeared to be standard defensive measures. Supply chains were rerouted through quantum communication networks that left no traditional tracking signatures. Manufacturing centers shifted into high-efficiency modes that could produce emergency resources with minimal external support. Admiral Reyes understood that this was more than a potential military conflict. This was a moment of transformation. "We're not just preparing for a potential war," she told her closest advisors. "We're setting the stage for a fundamental redesign of humanity's place in the galactic community." Intelligence reports continued to stream in. The Zorian Confederation believed their trade restrictions would cripple human economic capabilities. The Nexus Collective was confident their technological superiority would ensure a swift resolution to any potential conflict. They were wrong. Every restriction became an opportunity. Every limitation became a chance for innovation. The quantum communication networks developed in the Europa Research Complex began to show their true potential. Information flowed through channels that defied traditional understanding of communication technology. Colony worlds that appeared isolated were actually more connected than ever before. Commander Thompson reviewed the final preparations. The pieces were being placed exactly where they needed to be. The provocation was calculated. The response was being meticulously prepared. The galactic powers thought they were applying pressure. In reality, they were walking into a trap of humanity's own design. The calculation was complete. The provocation was set. All that remained was the moment of revelation. The first indication of humanity's true capabilities came not with a roar, but with a silence that froze the blood of every watching civilization. Admiral Victoria Reyes stood on the bridge of the primary command vessel, her hands resting lightly on a quantum adaptive interface that seemed to breathe beneath her touch. Around her, the ship's interior shifted and reconfigured with a fluidity that defied conventional understanding of mechanical design. "Quantum launch sequence initiated," announced Lieutenant Commander Elena Kim, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what was about to unfold. Across multiple star systems, hidden launch points that had been carefully concealed for decades began to activate. These were not traditional spacecraft hangars. They were quantum-shielded launch complexes that had been integrated so perfectly into their surrounding environments that they had effectively been invisible to any form of external scanning. The first wave of ships emerged like ghosts materializing from nothing. Each vessel was a living testament to humanity's most revolutionary technological leap. Their hulls shimmered with adaptive membranes that could instantly reconfigure molecular structures, changing color, density, and even basic physical properties in microseconds. Sensors across multiple alien fleet command centers began to malfunction simultaneously. Where they expected to see traditional spacecraft, they instead witnessed something that challenged the very fundamental understanding of space travel. The ships moved with a fluidity that was almost organic. They didn't simply travel through space. They seemed to negotiate with it, bending quantum principles as if they were diplomatic agreements that could be subtly reinterpreted. Commander Jack Thompson's voice cut through the communication systems with clinical precision. "This is humanity's response," he announced, each word carefully measured. "We are not asking for recognition. We are demanding respect." In the Zorian Confederation's primary command center, senior strategists watched in mounting horror as their most advanced tracking systems became completely ineffective. The human ships were not just evading detection, they were actively rewriting the very parameters of detection itself. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, who had been instrumental in developing the ship's quantum communication systems, monitored the initial deployment from the Europa Research Complex. "It's working exactly as we predicted," he muttered to himself, a slight smile playing across his lips. Each ship was more than a weapon. It was a living system of adaptive intelligence. Weapon configurations could shift instantaneously. Defensive capabilities could predict and neutralize threats before they even manifested. The traditional understanding of space combat was about to be completely rewritten. The Nexus Collective's first response was almost comical in its desperation. They launched what they considered their most advanced interceptor squadrons, sleek vessels that had previously been considered the pinnacle of space combat technology. These interceptors disappeared from their own sensor arrays before they could even complete their initial approach vectors. "Quantum disruption field at maximum efficiency," announced a systems operator aboard the human command vessel. The ships weren't just avoiding detection. They were actively creating localized quantum fields that made traditional tracking completely impossible. Admiral Reyes watched the initial deployment with a sense of calculated calm. This was more than a military demonstration. This was a fundamental reimagining of human potential. The quantum adaptive ships began to reveal capabilities that seemed to defy the laws of physics. They could merge and separate with impossible speed, create decoy quantum signatures that were indistinguishable from real vessels, and communicate through quantum entanglement networks that made traditional communication look like primitive smoke signals. In the ethereal Dominion's primary communication hub, senior diplomats watched in mounting terror as their most sophisticated tracking and communication systems became nothing more than elaborate paperweights. "We are not seeking conflict." Commander Thompson's voice continued to broadcast across multiple communication spectrums. "We are seeking understanding." Each ship was a living testament to human innovation. Adaptive hull systems could repair damage instantaneously. Weapon configurations could reshape themselves faster than any biological reaction time could track. Defensive capabilities created localized quantum fields that could neutralize incoming threats before they even fully manifested. The first wave of deployment was a message written in the language of quantum physics and technological innovation. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The battle unfolded like a complex mathematical equation coming to life, with Admiral Victoria Rice conducting an orchestra of technological marvel that defied every known principle of space warfare. Her command vessel, a quantum adaptive marvel, hung in space like a living entity. Holographic interfaces danced around her, each projection a real-time representation of a battle that was less a military engagement and more a fundamental challenge to the universe's understanding of conflict. Quantum resonance alignment at maximum. Lieutenant Commander Elena Kim announced, her fingers dancing across interfaces that seemed to breathe and pulse with living intelligence. Enemy fleet configurations are completely compromised. The Zorian Confederation's most advanced battle group approached what they believed would be an easy engagement. Their ships represented centuries of accumulated technological development, sleek, powerful vessels that had crushed countless civilizations beneath their quantum lances and molecular disruptors. They never stood a chance. Humanity's ships moved with a fluidity that transcended traditional understanding of space combat. They weren't simply dodging or attacking. They were rewriting the very fabric of spatial interaction. Each vessel could instantaneously create quantum duplicates, split into multiple functional units, or merge into more complex configurations faster than any tracking system could comprehend. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez watched from the Europa Research Complex, his hands trembling slightly with the magnitude of what was unfolding. "It's not just technology," he whispered to his team. "It's a complete reimagining of physical interaction." The first wave of alien weapon systems began to discharge. Massive quantum lances that had previously obliterated entire planetary defenses. But against the human fleet, they might as well have been throwing pebbles against a hurricane. Quantum adaptive hull systems absorbed, redirected, and transformed incoming energy. Where traditional shields would have collapsed, these vessels literally reshaped their molecular structure to neutralize threats. A plasma burst that should have vaporized a conventional ship instead became a source of additional energy, absorbed and redistributed through complex quantum networks. Commander Jack Thompson's voice cut through the communication systems with surgical precision. "Demonstrate, but do not destroy," he instructed. This was not about annihilation. This was about a fundamental lesson in technological capability. The Nexus Collective's fleet commanders watched in mounting horror as their most sophisticated attack vectors were not just neutralized, but completely reinterpreted. Ships that should have been destroyed instead seemed to dance around incoming attacks, splitting and merging with impossible speed. One Nexus battle cruiser attempted to launch a concentrated molecular disruption beam, a weapon that had previously been capable of reducing entire space stations to atomic dust. The human vessel it targeted simply shifted. The beam passed through a quantum duplicate, while the real ship repositioned itself with contemptuous ease. Quantum communication networks are operating at 998% predicted efficiency, Kim reported, a hint of professional pride in her voice. The ships were not just communicating. They were sharing consciousness, predicting and adapting to threats before they could even fully manifest. The ethereal Dominion's most advanced sensor systems began to fail catastrophically. Their ships were being mapped, predicted, and neutralized before their commanders could even comprehend what was happening. It was less a battle and more a clinical demonstration of technological superiority. Weapon systems aboard the human vessels defied conventional understanding. They could reshape themselves mid-discharge, creating attack vectors that violated known principles of ballistic and energy projection. A single vessel could generate multiple attack points, each functioning with individual intelligence, yet part of a greater unified strategy. Admiral Rice watched the engagement with the calm of a mathematician solving an elegant equation. Each movement, each defensive action was part of a larger demonstration. They were not just fighting. They were teaching. Maintain minimum destruction protocols, she reminded her fleet. We are here to demonstrate, not to annihilate. The alien fleets began to retreat, not out of traditional fear, but out of a fundamental understanding that they were facing something beyond their comprehension. Their most sophisticated technologies were being treated like primitive toys, their attack strategies revealed as simplistic and predictable. As the engagement concluded, not a single human vessel had sustained meaningful damage. The alien fleets, by contrast, had been systematically neutralized, their most advanced systems rendered completely ineffective. Commander Thompson's final broadcast was a masterpiece of diplomatic and technological communication. We seek understanding, he transmitted across all frequencies, not conflict. The technological symphony had concluded, and the galaxy would never be the same. The same chamber where humanity had been humiliated now became the stage for a reckoning that would reshape galactic understanding. Commander Jack Thompson stood at the central platform, his presence a stark contrast to the previous diplomatic encounter. Gone was the posture of a supplicant. In its place stood a representative of a civilization that had just rewritten the fundamental rules of technological capability. Holographic displays surrounded him, each projection a clinical dissection of the recent technological demonstration. The alien representatives sat frozen, their usual array of dismissive postures replaced by a mixture of terror and disbelief. Shall we discuss technological capability? Thompson began, his voice a controlled instrument of diplomatic precision. The Zorian Confederation's ambassador, Krellax, whose prismatic body had previously rippled with contempt, now appeared to physically shrink. Its bioluminescent membranes dulled, a biological tell of complete psychological defeat. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had carefully prepared this presentation. Each slide was a calculated strike, dismantling decades of alien misconceptions about human technological potential. She had transformed their previous humiliation into the most sophisticated psychological warfare imaginable. Thompson moved through the presentation with surgical precision. He didn't boast. He simply demonstrated. The first set of slides revealed the quantum adaptive technologies that had neutralized the alien fleets. Complex diagrams showed how human ships could literally reshape their molecular structures, absorb and redirect energy, and communicate through quantum networks that made the aliens' most advanced systems look like primitive radio equipment. You believed us to be technologically inferior, Thompson stated, each word measured and precise. What you fail to understand is that limitation breeds innovation. Every moment of dismissal became an opportunity for advancement. The Nexus Collective's representative attempted to interrupt, but Thompson's presentation continued without pause. Holographic reconstructions showed the recent space engagement, not as a military victory, but as a comprehensive technological demonstration. Each alien civilization saw their most advanced technologies reduced to nothing more than elaborate illusions. Weapon systems that had conquered countless civilizations were revealed as nothing more than rudimentary tools against human innovation. We are not seeking conquest, Thompson explained. We are seeking recognition of our potential. The psychological impact was deliberate and devastating. This was not a military briefing. This was a complete deconstruction of galactic technological hierarchies. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez had spent years preparing for this moment. The presentation was more than a series of slides. It was a comprehensive dismantling of alien prejudices, a systematic breakdown of every misconception about human capabilities. One by one, the alien representatives saw their technological achievements reduced to elementary demonstrations. Quantum communication networks that the aliens believed were advanced were shown to be simple, predictable systems. Defensive technologies that had been considered invincible were revealed as easily manipulated. The ethereal dominion's representatives watched in mounting horror as their propaganda, their carefully constructed narratives of human weakness, were systematically destroyed. Thompson's final slide was perhaps the most devastating. It was not a demonstration of weapons or technological superiority. It was a simple image of human researchers working together, their diversity a testament to the collaborative spirit that had created this technological leap. Innovation is not about individual brilliance, he stated. It is about collective potential. The chamber, which had previously been a place of mockery, now became a temple of technological revelation. Each alien representative understood that the fundamental understanding of galactic technological hierarchy had been permanently altered. This was more than a diplomatic presentation. This was a fundamental reset of interstellar perception. As Thompson concluded, the silence was absolute. No translator was needed to understand the message. Humanity had not just arrived on the galactic stage. It had rewritten the entire script. The psychological warfare was complete, and the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The diplomatic summit that followed was unlike any gathering in galactic history. Representatives from the 3 star systems that had previously mocked humanity now sat with a posture of barely concealed apprehension. The grand hall of the interstellar diplomatic nexus, once a chamber of human humiliation, now felt like a courtroom where humanity was the unexpected prosecutor. Admiral Victoria Rice led the human delegation, her presence a masterclass in controlled power. She wore a simple dark uniform that seemed to absorb the elaborate holographic displays surrounding her, a visual metaphor for humanity's ability to turn overwhelming complexity into elegant solution. "We are not here to conquer," she began, her voice cutting through the tense atmosphere like a precision laser. "We are here to redefine our mutual understanding." The Zorian Confederation's ambassador, Krellax, who had once stretched its prismatic body in contemptuous displays, now sat compressed, its bioluminescent membranes dulled. The recent demonstration of human technological capability had stripped away centuries of galactic posturing. Dr. Elena Rodriguez managed the technical details of the negotiation, her slides and data presentations a clinical dissection of potential collaborative frameworks. Each proposed partnership was a carefully constructed bridge that acknowledged the recent technological revelation while offering genuine paths to mutual advancement. Commander Jack Thompson stood slightly behind Reyes, a strategic positioning that spoke volumes. He was simultaneously a symbol of humanity's military capability and its diplomatic restraint. The Nexus Collective's representative attempted to regain some diplomatic footing. "Your recent demonstration," it began, struggling to maintain its previous tone of superiority, "suggests a need for careful integration into existing galactic protocols." Admiral Rice allowed herself the smallest smile. "Protocols," she responded, "are merely suggestions written by those who have not yet imagined something better." Each alien civilization was forced to confront a fundamental reality. Humanity was not seeking to replace existing power structures. They were offering to reimagine them entirely. The proposed collaborative research initiatives were revolutionary. Quantum communication networks that could instantaneously link distant civilizations, adaptive technology frameworks that could solve complex environmental challenges, medical research that promised to extend lifespans across multiple species. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez presented a series of potential joint research projects that left the alien representatives both impressed and slightly uncomfortable. These were not traditional diplomatic offerings. These were invitations to a completely new way of thinking about technological and cultural exchange. The Ethereal Dominion's representative, who had previously been the most vocally dismissive of humanity, now spoke with a tone of carefully measured respect. "Your technological leap," it acknowledged, "suggests capabilities we had not anticipated." Behind the diplomatic language was a fundamental shift. The recent space engagement had not just demonstrated military capability. It had revealed a fundamental approach to problem-solving that was uniquely human. Commander Thompson took a moment to address the underlying psychological dynamic. Innovation is not about superiority. he explained. "It is about collective potential. We are offering partnership, not dominance." The proposed frameworks went beyond traditional diplomatic agreements. They were living documents, adaptive systems that could evolve with changing circumstances. Quantum encrypted communication channels would allow real-time collaboration that transcended traditional bureaucratic limitations. Admiral Rice outlined humanity's vision: research collaborations that could address galactic environmental challenges, technological exchanges that could revolutionize medical treatments across multiple species, communication networks that could link civilizations in ways never before imagined. The alien representatives found themselves in an unprecedented position. They were not negotiating with a subordinate species. They were being invited to participate in a revolutionary approach to interstellar cooperation. As the initial negotiations concluded, it became clear that something fundamental had changed. The galactic power dynamics had been permanently altered, not through conquest, but through a demonstration of potential that challenged every existing understanding. Humanity had not just arrived on the galactic stage. They had rewritten the entire script of interstellar engagement. The diplomatic reckoning was complete, and the galaxy would never be the same. 5 years after the technological demonstration that reshaped interstellar politics, the human research complex on Uraba had become something far more than a military installation. It was now the heart of a galactic collaborative research network that was fundamentally transforming scientific understanding. Admiral Victoria Rice stood in the central atrium, watching researchers from 12 different alien civilizations work side by side. The space was a living testament to humanity's most profound innovation, not a technological breakthrough, but a collaborative approach that transcended traditional boundaries. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was presenting the latest joint research findings, a breakthrough in quantum communication that would allow instantaneous information transfer across previously insurmountable distances. The holographic displays showed complex molecular interactions that seemed to dance with living intelligence. "We are not just sharing technology," Rodriguez explained to the assembled researchers. "We are creating a new framework of collective discovery." The recent collaborative projects had already transformed multiple sectors of galactic society. Medical research had developed treatments that could adapt to multiple biological systems. Environmental restoration technologies could now heal planetary ecosystems with unprecedented speed and precision. Commander Jack Thompson, now serving as the primary diplomatic liaison for interstellar research initiatives, reviewed the latest project reports. Each document was a testament to a new approach: adaptive, collaborative, constantly evolving. The Zorian Confederation, which had once been the most vocally dismissive of humanity, now hosted one of the primary collaborative research centers. Their most advanced scientists worked alongside human researchers, their previous contempt transformed into genuine scientific curiosity. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, no relation to Elena, was leading a project that was redefining understanding of quantum communication networks. The current demonstration showed how information could be transferred across multiple dimensional interfaces, a concept that would have been considered impossible just a decade earlier. The Nexus Collective had completely restructured its technological development approach. Their rigid hierarchical research systems had been replaced by adaptive, collaborative frameworks inspired by human innovation methodologies. "It's not about who discovers first," Jack Thompson often said during diplomatic briefings. "It's about how we discover together." The research complex had become more than a technological hub. It was a cultural exchange center that was fundamentally reimagining the concept of interstellar cooperation. Researchers from different civilizations didn't just work together. They lived together, shared cultural experiences, and developed unprecedented levels of mutual understanding. Admiral Rice watched a group of young researchers, human, Zorian, and from the ethereal Dominion, discussing a complex molecular adaptation project. Their conversation was a symphony of different perspectives, each bringing unique approaches to a shared challenge. The technological leap that had initially shocked the galactic community was now understood as something far more profound. It wasn't just about advanced technology. It was about a fundamentally different approach to problem solving. Collaborative research initiatives had solved challenges that had seemed insurmountable. Planetary environmental restoration projects were healing worlds that had been considered beyond recovery. Medical treatments could now adapt to multiple biological systems with unprecedented precision. The human approach, which emphasized collective potential over individual achievement, had become a new model for scientific and cultural exchange. "We are not exceptional because of our technology," Commander Thompson would explain during diplomatic seminars. "We are exceptional because of our ability to collaborate, to imagine, to continuously reinvent ourselves." The research complex had become a living organism of innovation. Each day brought new discoveries, new collaborations, new ways of understanding the universe that transcended traditional scientific boundaries. The alien civilizations that had once mocked humanity now looked to human researchers as critical partners in scientific exploration. The previous hierarchical understanding of technological development had been completely dismantled. As the day concluded, Admiral Rice reflected on the journey. What had begun as a response to diplomatic humiliation had transformed into something far more significant. Humanity had not conquered through military might. They had transformed the very understanding of collective potential. The holographic displays continued to dance with complex molecular interactions, a visual representation of a new galactic order, not defined by conquest, but by collaborative discovery. The universe was changing, and humanity was at the forefront of that transformation.